Hello, good evening. I'm Javier Figueroa, Mayor of the City of University Place, and I'm calling this regular meeting of the City University Place City Council for Monday, May 19th, 2025 to order. And with that, we'll do the roll call by the City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Boykin.
Here.
Councilmember Worthington.
Here.
Councilmember McCluskey.
I'm here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Grassi.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood is excused. Mayor Figueroa.
Present.
Mayor, you have the forum.
Thank you. And will Councilmember Grassi lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Would you please stand as we say the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And next on the agenda will be approval of the agenda, and I'm calling for a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor Figueroa, I move approval of the agenda as distributed.
I'll second.
Thank you. And any objection to approving the agenda? None seen. The agenda is approved. Next is our public comments, and we'll see who's anybody signed up?
No one has signed up for public
Anybody
comment.
online?
No one online.
Okay, at this point, we'll close public comments. Well, I should say anyone sitting from the public sitting here that is present here, I should say, and that would like to come up and make any public comments. None coming up, so I will go ahead and close public comments. The consent agenda. I'd like to get a motion to approve or amend the consent agenda as proposed.
Mayor Figueroa, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any objection to approving the consent agenda? None seen. The consent agenda is approved. And we'll move on to item number 7, City Manager and Council comments and reports. And we'll start with the City Manager, Steve Sugg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This Thursday in this room at 11:30, we're going to have a lunch with the commissions. All the commissions have been invited, council's invited, senior staff, and we're going to have an hour and a half lunch/discussion with commissions, and the focus is going to be on their work plans and also on council goals, and have a good discussion and with the commissioners and talk to them about how the work that they're doing relates to the goals that the council adopted. So we look forward to that. Commissions are in process. They're working hard on their work plans, and this is a good opportunity to have a good exchange with them. So that's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just start to the left. Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I greatly appreciate it. I first want to make sure that I just thank the applicants that did participate for recent commission opportunities. With that, I certainly want to provide my appreciation to Anisha Smith on appointment by recommendation, excuse me, to the council. One thing that I want to underscore about how our commissions have a unique way of contributing to our city, which is always valued, but what is also common about our commission is we really have outstanding people that first have a willingness to serve. That is going to be the case here, and so in advance, just thanking her for the expectation of how she'll contribute for the Economic Development Commission. Also wanted to reflect on having had the opportunity to just remember our heroes, the expectation of a wonderful host opportunity for Pierce. Let me make sure that I don't misreference specifically the Pierce County Memorial Service for our law enforcement. And as I think about how deeply moving that was and always is, it was that much more uncomfortable in the reverence that you get a chance to sense, as well as the families that are certainly both being identified and celebrated at the same time, openly hurt. So just was deeply appreciative of being there and want to give us a thank you to our church and council member Grassi for extending the invitation and just reminding us that there's always the intentionality about when people serve and when they make the ultimate sacrifice, how that you just can never be appreciative enough. And then the last thing I wanted to make sure that I did share with Mayor and Council is that there's an opportunity next month to celebrate small cities. And in that effort, there has been an ask for where small cities that make big impacts are provided opportunities to share those stories across the country. And as that is through the NLC, the National League of Cities, really excited about lifting up one project in particular among the plethora that can always be called out by the City of University Place. But what moved me in particular at this time has been the all abilities, all-inclusive playground, because it really centers the diversity that really makes our city great, and having an opportunity to have that celebration first modeled and open to our children tells me that we're on the right path to making sure that we demonstrate wonderful examples of how we can be impactful in the nurturing of our own residents and citizens, and certainly their children. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. My apology, I'm still a little choked up as I think back on particularly remembering our heroes. It was really a moving moment, and just appreciative again of having been there.
Thank you. Councilmember McCluskey. Couldn't get it out.
Yeah, it's a hard last name. Thank you, Mayor. On May 15th, I went to the PCRC meeting, and our county executive, Ryan Mello, did a report. His vision for his term in office is titled Forward Together, Building Communities That Are Safe, Welcoming, and Connected. The Pierce County strategic plan towards those goals are on the county's website under 2026 to 2027. He also went on to talk about the federal, state, and all the confusion it is to navigate through these executive orders. And for example, there's 65 federal funding streams and 102 million as yet not received that were due to be received. So it's creating some hardships, as you can imagine. And in the services of senior aging and homeless intervention and other essential health and emergency management needs. He went on to say something happy after all of that. It's about the 2026 World Cup with the 25,000 global visitors that are going to come our way. It's 7 times the impact of a Super Bowl. You can imagine that. There's going to be 9 fan zones. Tacoma is going to be one of them. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get a ferry pilot and maybe keep that after the World Cup to travel from Tacoma to Seattle. So in all of that, all the planning and comp plan reviews and updates will ensue for safety and all the things that we've experienced for our U.S. Open, except on steroids. There's going to be more comp plan updates coming through, especially in high-capacity transit areas. His goal is to add 250,000 additional housing, town centers, looking at that, urban corridor and middle housing. So, and they are in the process of moving all the county to where, they're annexed throughout the county, all the offices and buildings to one place. We've heard this before, and now it's actually going to happen. There's traction on that, and our executive, Mello, is already in place amongst the construction as well. The Regional Justice Center will stay where it's at. It will expand, and all other services will go to this building. I believe it's on Market Street. But the county annex will stay on 38th Street with the auditor and the assessor. So, and they're also doing a pivot to Pierce County, another title that he created to bring good paying jobs and businesses to the county. All good stuff. Last Saturday, I went to an Up for Art event in our atrium. It was a short suspense time with the marketing, but they got over 95 people in attendance to see the world-renowned Ronaldo and his wife, Kwei Wee. And it was just fabulous. They were dual pianists playing, and so it was very entertaining, and their level of expertise was just extraordinary. I asked some pointed questions of the audience since we forgot to have an MC, so I just did it. And I asked, are you interested in seeing more of these events in University Place? Would you be interested in seeing an art commission form or, in adjacent to Up for Art? And I got a resounding round of applause. So that was quite encouraging for that. I went for an Up for Art meeting prior to this. They are focusing on developing a new board. There are new board members, but they haven't been anointed yet. And so once they are anointed, the board will come in with a new vision and a new focus. So more exciting events and art functions in our city for the enjoyment of our community to come. I was privileged to go with Kevin Brisky, our Economic Development and Planning Director, for a tour of the parking lot in Town Center. You may think that would be quite boring, but it really wasn't. It was very informative for me. Some things, obviously, I knew, but other things I didn't, and how things were being projected to the future, and some of the things that are currently online right now in regards to the wayfinding signs, and also the safety component and the lighting in the garage as well. So then I was informed of the Day Island Sewer Public Involvement Plan. I was invited to participate in that. So I guess I'll have a 30 to 45 minute interview. Pierce County Sewer is reaching out to several of the residents on Day Island and polling a public outreach so they can do the sewer upgrades that are slated to come on in the next couple years. There is a all-island residential outreach meeting on June 12th at 6 p.m. at the clubhouse, and so I encourage anyone who would like to go to attend, because it's a big, huge deal what they're doing. They're ripping up all the streets. They're elevating the pump station so it's out of the flood zone. And so all that infrastructure will all have to be redone and reconstructed. And so I think it's a great opportunity to partner with the Pierce County Sewer and TPU so that we can get some better streets along the island as well. Last but not least, this is Memorial Weekend coming up, and we need to honor the memories of those who have not only served our countries, but also the memories of our loved ones who have passed away. You know, it's a day of remembrance and just understanding where you came from and appreciating their history and their legacy. And I call these the start of the red, white, and blue days. Starts off on the Memorial Day. In the middle, there's 4th of July. And then we end with Labor Day. So everything is red, white, and blue. Summer days, picnics, sunflowers. And I can't wait, especially for the sunshine. And I will close my comments then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. So I'll make this brief. Just wanted to join Councilmember McCluskey in wishing everyone a happy and appropriate Memorial Day as we think about those that have preceded us, and an opportunity to enjoy family and think about those connections along with those that have served us. So appreciate that service and look forward to thinking about family on that weekend. Thank you. That's my remarks.
Thank you. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too shall be brief. The beauty of having council members who precede you, they get to hit all the highlights rather. But I just want to drive home a couple of them. One is, you know, the recent commissioner interviews and appointments to really reiterate what Councilmember Boykin was saying. We are so blessed, and I've had the privilege of sitting on that committee now for several years, but every time we have to make a new appointment and go through that interview series, the quality of the candidates just get better and better and better. And, you know, it would be, I look forward to the day when we could one day just, as a committee, recommend to the council as a whole and the mayor appointment of all the candidates, because, you know, any one candidate would do a super job, you know, for the city and helping us to, you know, further our vision that we have for this community. The second is Memorial Day, and I just wanted to point out, you know, it really is not just a holiday, but as others have said, it's a time to remember and really give thanks to those men and women who serve our nation, and as well as to our first responders. And we should never forget them. You know, for those who selflessly give and ultimately give, you know, to ensure that we all stay safe and we all enjoy the freedoms of this great nation. I know some of us are going to be attending the memorial service out at JBLM, and look forward to that experience out there. And that's really all I have to add tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I want to echo my thoughts for a wonderful Memorial Day weekend and gratitude to those that have given the ultimate sacrifice. So thank you for opening with those comments. I also want to welcome one of our own service members who's in the chambers tonight. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being here this evening. We honor you, and you do for all of us. So thank you for your service, and we're thrilled to have you here. I also want to echo Councilmember Boykin's sentiments regarding the Sheriff's Memorial. It was an honor to host that in our city. Thank you to our city manager who attended, and Councilmember Boykin. It was wonderful to be with those families, stand alongside as a fellow widow, to see and be able to honor those families of our fallen heroes was truly a special moment and such an honor to have it in our city. So thank you for attending, and for those that made it happen, to Chief Burke, thank you for being there and being a part of that. I also want to remind everyone that Duck Days is coming up, and I believe we just have a few more days for businesses and those to sign up to be a part of the parade. So if you have a small business in our community, or if you have something that you want to showcase in our parade, I really invite all of our community members to be a part of that special moment in that parade. Come out and sign up and be a part of it, and it's a great way to highlight our small business community. So I really hope people will take advantage of that. I also really just want to say a special thank you to our residents living along 35th Street and 67th, and in our active zones, I would call them. We are excited. I am excited about the capital improvements that we are making. Jack's team is working so hard. This team works so hard to use every grant dollar, every opportunity to make our city better. But it does have some pinpoints and pain points for residents that are right in the heat of that. And as I was driving 67th today and seeing families wait for the bus out there in the middle of that construction zone at 35th, if you're watching and listening, thank you for your patience and with us. Thank you for that you see the vision and what we're trying to build in our city does not go unnoticed. So we're making it better for everyone, but I want to thank a special thank you to those residents and also echo the sentiments of our commissioners. I'm so excited about the commissioners that we did get to appoint, and I'm honored to be a part of that committee with Councilmember Fleming and Councilmember Boykin. But as it was said, we have incredible talent in our community, people that really want to serve, and I want to thank everybody that took the time to apply for those, and just it's such an honor to be a part of that decision. So thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. And for the final comments, I did go to Washington, D.C. on a Chamber of Commerce trip with the private sector and various public officials. And I did get a chance during that trip to visit Strickland, our Congresswoman Strickland, and confirming what she's doing for us. It's just, if you don't know, it looks like it won't be until about September when we actually will know if she'll get the appropriations, her individual appropriations. There's a name for it, I don't remember, but and she has UP on the list for the $400-something thousand to finish off the Chambers Bay roundabout that we talked about. So hopefully they'll keep that money in her district, and she has in mind to spend some of that toward finishing that project. I did let me just start over again. I got a chance, an opportunity to speak on the panel. And of course, what do you think I spoke on? MPOs and the federal grants going to MPOs. As I said in this diocese before, and individually to you guys, that it's important that we always have those federal grants in front of our eyesight, because that is the majority of the monies that we get to do what we've been doing as far as infrastructure in our city. Without those monies, we will never have accomplished what we have now. And I think it's really important that we continue to keep that in the front burner to make sure that those grants are always there. And so wherever you may be with public officials, especially Denise, and I'm not sure, Ed, that's on the PCRC?
Councilmember.
Oh, Fleming? Okay. It's important that that's always be spoken about, and keep our eyes open on that. I hope to, I'm going to make a suggestion to have the administration to get a report, a very detailed report about what's going on, because PSRC does have a lobbyist, and they pay good money toward that lobbyist firm in D.C., and I think we deserve a good report from them. But I did find out, and it was well received, by the way. A lot of people came to me afterwards from the delegation and appreciated that I had reminded everybody that how important it is, because it impacts everybody, transit, you name it, every city, every county. And so they were appreciative, and there was a lot of conversations about that afterwards. But I also met with a couple of Republican congressmen and talked to their staff and about the same thing, and they certainly have this on their list to look at from now on. So, and I just ask everybody here to do so as well. The other one would be, I received an email from Ryan Mello, as county executive Ryan Mello, about a celebration of the 10-year celebration for the 2015 U.S. Open that's going to occur at Chambers Bay. And he's having me speak, but he said to pass the invitation to the rest of the council. So I don't know if he already did it, and if he hasn't, okay, I'm seeing no's. I will make sure that invitation gets passed to you. And it's not tomorrow, by the way. There is like a couple of weeks or something like that. So hopefully we'll be able to, you can schedule it and be there. It's going to be in our backyard. And the last thing is, I think that we all should be, at some point, I did get a briefing about the Day Island sewer situation, and I found it to be quite complex. And as we all know, and we've discussed Day Island many times in the past years about its specific, the sensitivity around right-of-ways and encumbrances and bound lot lines and things like that. Here it's not just sewer, but also potentially water, and maybe we may do other things in the meantime. I think that as we all of us, we probably should have a study session. It's just a full, detailed report to really understand this and understand, because I know that along the way there's going to be, we all know people on the island. And I'd like for all of us to be equipped, other than maybe during the one-on-ones where we just get a briefing. I think we need to get and be able to ask questions so we can be prepared to have a good conversation with our constituents if it comes up. And I think that's it for me, so thank you. And we'll move on to our study session. And we'll start with item number 8, 2025 Capital Improvement Project Update by Mr. Jack Eklund, our Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. We thought we're quite busy out there, and this year we'll continue on the trend, and so we wanted to give you a little bit of a update of where we're at. Now, this map here, I don't expect you to necessarily look at we'll go over anyone individually, but it kind of just shows you pictorially the amount of work we're going, and it's all across the city. The green areas are active construction. The areas in blue are ones that we will be working under design. Overall, in 25, we will be working on 16 active construction projects. And in addition, we have 11 projects that will be under design or planning stages in 2025. This overall program represents about, for this we've received or secured a little over $500,000 of Pierce County money from Pierce County, over $6 million from the state, and over $26 million from the federal government, which also includes the $6 million ARPA funds that we're using for the sewer projects. All in all, there's some smaller funding sources in there as well, but all in all, the city portion of this is right around 20%. Which is not a bad bang for the buck on all these things. And not all these projects are grant eligible, but just a general overview of that. I want to start off just with the project that is closest to being done, and that's 67th Phase 2. And here's just a reminder of what the project looked like not that long ago, and this is what it looks like now from that same angle. Basically, where we're at right now, it's about 90% done, and we're essentially just waiting for minor punch list items to be done, as well as the big thing is getting the power cabinets, the service cabinets in, so we can energize the power out there for both the street lights and the irrigation system. So we do hope that right now they're anticipating that coming in either late July, early August, and so it's about 2 to 3 weeks of work after they get those in. So. But hopefully by August we will have that one done. Another one that's making good progress is 35th Phase 2. And so here you see we got half of the road already done, and we're working on the other half, mostly done. The lights aren't in yet. But that project is moving along, and we anticipate probably be completed around September or so. This one shows, I guess you can see both a little bit of what Councilmember Grassi was mentioning, this at 67th where our sewer project is going. It actually is not far from being wrapped up, which is nice, which may not be readily apparent from the picture there. But they believe, they're pretty confident that they think they'll be able to get this paved and buttoned up before the end of, or by the end of June. So not too long, and then this will be a pretty nice road. And then also we're able to position us for a project that we're in design and will be going out to construction next year. And that's this next phase of 67th, which will have sidewalks and so forth and street light on there. So that'll be a nice improvement overall for that roadway. Another project that's really close to starting is our 36th and Grandview roundabout. This picture just shows basically the roundabout's about where that car is in the road, right at the crest of the road. And I just show this just to kind of show what that sight distance issue that we're addressing. You can see how you can't see much past the curb, and so this roundabout will really make a big difference. Another project, so both of these two projects, because they're really close to the school, are not starting until after school starts. So the roundabout will start in mid-June. This is the Safe Route to School project we have, which we're going to be, it has a pretty long length. It starts on 27th and Elwood down by UP Primary. It goes up to Grandview. It turns right, goes down all Grandview, all the way down to Olympic. So across, in front of junior high, goes up Olympic, then turns up 40th, and continues all the way to the basically backside of Narrows View Intermediate School. And for this project, we are upgrading all the lights to brighter LED fixtures. We're updating all of the ADA ramps. We're constructing a new raised crosswalk at this main crosswalk at the junior high. We'll be upgrading all of the flashing signals, crosswalk signals in this area to the pedestrian actuated RRFBs, the ones that we've installed at that more recent project on CERT, kind of down closer to where the public workshop is. And then we also, at the intersection of Elwood and 27th, will be actually doing a full raised intersection at that location. That's a very high pedestrian location for that school. With we have a fair amount of multifamily housing on the other side, so a lot of kids are walking to school in that area. So we're excited for this one. Another one that we're very excited about, of course, is the Inclusive Playground, and you can see it's being enjoyed already by quite a few folks and kids. The overall project itself, though, we anticipate will be done in about November, because the remaining phases of the work are to pave the gravel parking lot behind it and also install the new family-style ADA accessible restroom. And that restroom is scheduled to be delivered in the October timeframe, and so we anticipate being all wrapped up. That'll be the last phase, and so that should be wrapped up in November is the goal. One thing that we don't get to talk a lot about, and I thought I would bring up, is our chip seal program. So this year we're going to be doing about 11 miles of chip seal throughout the city. In this area we have, it's about 5 neighborhoods with a few odd men streets here. We have quite a few neighborhoods around 44th Street. We have like the Twin Hills Drive neighborhood. We have the area, a neighborhood off of Alameda. So in this project, the map, the areas where you see the black and yellow kind of striped areas represent the chip seal. But the chip seal itself, we're already starting to do some of the prep work, the crack sealing and the patching. And then August is when we will be doing the chip seal itself. Also, we have quite a few activities going on at our public workshop itself, most of which are projects that are required by our NPDES permit. One, and this was the contract you guys approved a couple meetings ago, is the covered equipment storage area, where you can see right now the need of it. We have all of our equipment and trucks that are parked in the open air. We have a contract to get a roof over that area. We also, as part of that, will be covering up the salt storage. And then the covered area in the far back is our Vactor Bay. That one we are required to retrofit to improve sediment removal efficiency from the Vactor decant, and also connect it to sanitary sewer. And so that's also in process. All those are required under NPDES permit. And then another activity we have at the public workshop is and we spoke about this around budget time, but we are remodeling the restroom down there to add some stalls so that we can have enough to accommodate our folks down there and really be compliant with OSHA standards. Then, in looking at another public works project I don't have a picture of, but just to mention, we're continuing to do our storm pond rehabilitation as we go down the list, and the project and the pond that we'll be working on this year is the pond that serves the West Hampton community. Right now, it's another one of those that if you walk by, you would think it's a forest and not a storm pond, and so we need to be able to clear the trees and be able to get in there to remove the sediments. So now another project, and this is one we're going to be doing with our own forces, but our own staff, is we're going to be improving the trailhead parking here along Chambers Creek Road. We anticipate with the open of that Chambers Canyon Trail, there will be quite a bit more demand for parking and use here. And in addition, part of the recommendations from the Park Commission and the Public Safety Commission in managing kind of not so much safety, but the parking demands down at Kobayashi was to have some improved parking near this trailhead to try to alleviate that. So our plans here, we will be just widening out the area and paving the parking so we can fit in some angled parking on the road. It will be angled only from from this direction. It won't be perpendicular because we don't want anyone backing out around that curve because it's a dead curve. But it will be able to about triple the amount of parking we have out there, so it'll be nice. And then now kind of looking at, the last one I don't have a picture of, but Homestead Park, I have it still on the list for the hope that we'll have some active construction for this year. We're making progress on environmental, but more to come on that. So I had been hopeful for 24. I'm still hopeful for 25, but we'll see. But that is one that we are excited for as well. Moving into our projects that we have funding for that we're working on designing. One is 40th Street pedestrian improvements. So this project is one that'll be under construction in 26. And it will complete the sidewalks on 40th Street. So basically the gaps and sidewalks that are on the north side of the street. Similarly, we have another project also funded, grant funded for construction of the sidewalks on 70th Avenue on the other side of the street. So this would be on the east side of the street. And also that would be a 2026 construction project. Then we have our project that we have joint project with the City of Fircrest for the improvement of 44th Street. So we will be starting the design this year on the project. The construction itself, although we do have construction funds, those are won't be available until 28. So that is the goal for that. A couple other projects I don't have pictures of. We do have the Chambers Creek Road roundabout that the mayor talked about that we have the majority of our funding lined up for. We do have design money that we're working toward, and we are still looking for that last $300,000 to make that project complete for construction. And then also we do have funding to do a overlay of Cert Drive between 67th Avenue and Orchard. That will also be a 2026 project, but designed this year. Then another project starting design this year is our 67th Avenue Phase 3, which is between 44th Street and Cirque. And so as you can see, another section of road, which will be great to see some sidewalks and street lights. And we already have the bike lanes, but sometimes there's some gaps at the intersection, so we will continue those through. Design starts this year. The construction dollars we've secured are available in 28, so that's also a little bit down the future for construction. We do, although we're still hoping for construction money on the bridge, but we do have that. We did get a $200,000 grant from the state for a design study for the bridge, so that will be begin this year to do that study, and hopefully that will help position us for construction fundings down the road. Another one, a recent grant award is from RCO, some state funds to do improvements at Kerr and Apple Orchard Park. We'll be putting a new playground. That general gravel area is kind of where we have right now these two little kind of synthetic rocks. We're kind of a meager play area right now, so this will be a nice upgrade. It'll include the installation of a restroom, and then what's not shown here, but you can imagine, there will be a concrete accessible path that will run from the road around the playground to the restroom, out to the street on Brookside, and also lead all the way up to the band shell. So one of our, obviously our concerts are very popular, but it is difficult for folks with disabilities to be able to access those. So now we have an accessible route all the way to the band shell, which is exciting. This one, although it's not the most exciting picture, but we also are going to be working on redesigning and reconfiguring the parking lot at Paradise Pond. And so it's not the most, it's not the biggest or most grandiose parking right now, and it does actually need some more. We have in the summer, we don't have enough space to meet the demand. So we are looking at how to enhance that and make it, whether it's expanded a little bit, also but maybe better delineate the parking so we're being able to park people efficiently. And then on the same grounds, we are also underway of the Creekside Master Plan project to do that whole master planning and coming up with what is the conceptual design for all of our improvements at Creekside. So that is my quick synopsis of, 27 different projects. So I can take a breath now if I didn't, but I'll be happy to answer your questions if you have any.
Before I start, just a quick comment, and that is grants. That's all I heard. So while we continue this discussion and the word grant is mentioned, could you please identify it by saying, at least say, if it's PSRC grant or state grant or county grant or something like that, so that we can at least kind of keep up with where those monies are coming from? Thank you.
Oh, certainly. Yeah,
okay, so we'll start with Councilmember Fleming, and whatever hands are raised.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jack, thanks for a great presentation. I just reflect back oftentimes in the past when we talked about improvements in the city, and sometimes a lot of pushback from citizens about you're spending too much money, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I really applaud, and I mean that, what you and the team are doing in terms of continuing to improve and better the city, putting in these projects. They're amazing. 67th, what they've done down there, what a transformation. And as the mayor just pointed out, grants. So thank you for that. I think that's great for the citizens. I have a couple of, one question, one comment. One is the concern, anytime we're doing a road improvement, the concern is always about the number of cuts by utilities across the road. So as you're rebuilding these roads, are you laying in any kind of conduit for future utility use, or how are you mitigating the future of after you do a great job and then having utilities show up and go, we want to lay cable or we want to lay something across there and cutting through that asphalt? Because my understanding is you get, 5 or 7 cuts before you have to redo the road or the road bed?
It depends on where they fall and the size of them, and also how far away the previous paving was. But for what we've been doing is we have started instituting or re-implementing a quarterly meeting with the utilities to encourage them to, one, be aware of our project, plan for moving their stuff out of the way ahead of time, and then see if there are opportunities to partner. One of the things that I didn't mention, but one of the results of that effort is through several of these projects, we have over $500,000 of investment from Tacoma Public Utilities, and then partnering with these projects to get ahead of the curve and avoid that and replace and upgrade their water main while we do ours. So then we kind of minimize those kind of conflicts.
Awesome. Thank you. And then one quick, as a comment more than anything, in your discussion about the school projects, you said you wanted to get those started when school starts. I'm going to presume you wanted to do it when school's out.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, I misspoke.
Okay, perfect.
the goal will be to have the majority of the impact done before school resumes. There will be some activity likely when school continues on, but hopefully, especially for the roundabout project, that's going to be the most impactful to the traffic. Our goal is to get that, the majority of the traffic impact addressed before school starts again.
Okay. And then my last comment, you've heard me say this before, and I'll just keep beating the dead horse. There's a lot of building that's still yet to be done here in University Place, and my biggest concern always is infrastructure and how do we support and mitigate, additional cars on the roadway. And with all the work that you and the folks out there are doing, I hope you're keeping in mind that we've got to build that infrastructure to support that growth that we have. And so, great road improvements, but I hope somewhere in the background there's some conversation or planning for, expansion to support those cars.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. And Jack, yes, thanks. Thank you for the great presentation. And I think he did, 27 projects in 27 projects in 15 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty good. Pretty good clip. And nice job of doing a summary on them, too. So that was helpful. And thank you for the information about 67th. That happens to be, pretty near me, and all. But we've enjoyed watching the improvements. It's gone smoothly, from my estimation. Certainly, there are challenges, and yes, I've been delayed, and others have been delayed too. But that's just sort of the issues of active construction. But I haven't seen anyone have any significant issues, and I think it's been a safe working environment, and that's the key thing. Glad to see we're about getting ready to energize lights in the next 60 days or so, and that looks good. I had a couple of questions for you. One was on the Chambers Creek roundabout. And I think you mentioned that we are 300 or so thousand short at the moment, or looking for additional funding to fill that gap. Are we still, I think last I heard, some county right-of-way was involved in that. But I wasn't sure if the county had figured out what their participation would be quite yet. Has that been resolved? Mm-hmm.
We haven't finalized it, and it's always a challenge when you change administrations because, Executive Mello has, at least preliminary conversations, is still receptive to the past. The previous, essentially, handshake agreement we had is that essentially their contribution to the project would be the dedication of the right-of-way, and that's a majority of the right-of-way we need. We do need to acquire some right-of-way from the funeral home on the other side of Chambers Creek Road. Unfortunately, we do not need anything from the cemetery, so we won't be
dealing with that issue.
Yes, yeah. But and so that is we have a right-of-way consultant underway to negotiate for that. But yeah, so that's.
Well, we look forward to the county's eager participation here in the near future. So yeah, let's see if we can't put that together. Also, a project that you had mentioned. There's a long list and a lot of good activity, and important for us to be ready for the future and with all of that activity. But one of the other ones that came to mind was with regards to the Day Line Bridge. We've spent a good deal of time and energy on that, and moving forward with some design dollars. Great to see. Is there an opportunity to use the Day Line Bridge and the sewer line upgrade, the pump station upgrade? Is there some way to use that to leverage the urgency of the bridge replacement? Have we explored that?
We have used that in some of our justifications in the past, and so we'll continue to try to pull those threads. It's just been a little bit of a challenge. One of the biggest challenge for the Day Island Bridge is we have taken too good of care of it, and so we don't rate high enough for other jurisdictions that have let the infrastructure kind of
facing in it, toppling over whatever structure it might be. But okay. We're not quite on that endangered list. It might be. Thank you for our good stewardship. Okay.
Well, I'm grateful for that so far.
Yes, there is an upside to that, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's enough of my questions. Thank you very much, and your team for putting all that together.
Okay. Excuse me. Councilmember McCluskey.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I know it was a short synopsis, so it's not all detailed, but quite a lot of moving parts for you to keep on top of. And with all of these projects, even though it is sometimes a hardship to go around, it takes a little more time to maneuver around as we try to get from point A to point B. I believe that our citizens realize just how hard your team is working to improve their city streets. They may not know all the details or how you squeeze blood out of a turnip in order to make ends meet and go forward. And with the rising cost of constructions, that we probably need to have a buffer of X amount of percentage, because you never know the cost of living and the cost of the materials and workers to create American-made products, which I am in favor of. Keep the economy going, keep the money in-house is always the best, right, for our self-improvement. So kudos to all of this. It's amazing for a city of 8 miles to have all this going on. The 35th Street going on, are we going, it looks patchy right now. Are we going to do a road improvement through so that it doesn't look rough?
Unfortunately, so the funding we received for the 35th was a grant that was specifically for non-motorized improvements, and so pavement overlay wasn't eligible for that.
Okay.
It's certainly going to be a roadway that we're going to be keep an eye on and targeting for future potential grants for overlays, but at this time we have to just patch it and do the best we can to get the for the terms of this grant.
Yeah, try to make it as smooth as possible, because that's a well-traveled road. Make it as solid as possible so that people can travel safely. Because with any bumps in the road, it compromises safety to an nth degree with that. So is that going to be placed in our traffic improvement project list?
So technically it is, although we have that as right now we haven't specifically called it out as a separate project. Right now it's just in the our little catch-all line of pavement overlay. And so that may be something we'll look at to call out if it makes it, might make us more competitive, have it specifically called out. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't separate that out.
Okay, thank you. The Day Island Sewer Project, that's emerging, going through some public processes, I presume, because I am kind of like in the dark of all the nuances, as I'm sure a little bit you guys are as well, to re-engage with Pierce County Sewer and to ensure that they open up the lines of communications a little bit better than they have in the past. So that, because it is a partnership, it's a strong partnership, they were going to work very intimately with all the neighbors, all of our residents, all of our citizens, and all of our city council is going to be very sensitive on how that is handled in an appropriate way. Because it is so small and tight for various reasons, which because of the unknowns, the residents on Day Island is a little touchy right now. So if we can come in with data, facts, and how they can visualize how they're going to live through a couple years worth of construction and renovations. That would be amazing. We can do that. Brookside Park, had landscape, it was torn down, redone for the stormwater management piece. Is that going to be replanted? And what's the vision for that?
We certainly will have it restored. The level of the replanting, some of it was a little overgrown, and so we're going to have to evaluate. We'll hydro seed the exposed slopes. Some of the area we might leave more accessible by vehicles, because that was one of our challenges for our parks maintenance folks to even get in there, because it was so soggy and wet to access that area. And so it's an added benefit of that stormwater project. We do now have improved access that then hopefully will allow us to be able to do a little more with that project. And years ago we used to have some trails and picnic tables in that area, and hopefully this added access will help us be able to move back toward some of the vision that our pros plan has for that project, or that area.
Yeah, it certainly was an underutilized and overgrown park, but the deers really loved it.
Yeah.
It was a way that they could get some sun and feel safe. Last is the Hampton Storm Pond with our city funds. Maybe in our next staff meeting you can give me a little more details on that project and how it's all going to evolve. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Jack, for all your hard work, and your team as well.
Thanks.
Hey, Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jack, for a wonderful presentation and all the hard work. I also want to say thank you. Jack and his team are working so hard, and also I had the opportunity to be with him with some residents this past week as well on site, talking about some questions they had about coming improvements and additions to their neighborhood. So thank you for taking the time. Our team, our staff were so just really gifted with a great team that is so responsive to our residents. So thank you for that. A couple of just quick questions. Can you, just for those that are watching, explain our reach out process to residents when a project is coming? I know some of them, they haven't had a project yet and they maybe see their neighborhood on this list. Are they going to wake up and have a bulldozer out front, or will they be made aware? So can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, and some of it depends on the nature of the project and the scope of the impacts. Generally, we, for any of these projects, we do like to utilize our communication resources with our website and our newsletter and our social media to get the word out of just the kind of general awareness of the projects. When we do get closer for those projects with immediate impacts, we'll send out mailings to the neighborhoods to talk about what's coming, and especially we'll have reach out to properties if we are having a direct impact. Like for example, the Roundabout project, although it was entirely in our right-of-way, there is a property that they have a septic system that has encroached into our right-of-way, so early on we reached out to the property owner to try to help facilitate, what can be done for them to, hook up to sewer and what can be done to accommodate that. So a little bit of everything, but it depends on the specific impacts. And then we do most of the larger projects. We then will have like we've been doing an online public meeting for folks. And we usually will send out either mailers or information on our website for those.
Okay, great. I just want residents to be rest assured that they will be made well aware of what's coming. And then my last comment, I'm sure you're on it, but I'm wondering, I know you mentioned that you're starting those projects around UP primary and the junior high in June. Will there be reach out to those families at the start of the school season? Are we going to be partnering with the school district at all for a lot of those multifamily housing developments? All those parents that are going to be kind of what's happening, how will we be doing some targeted engagement there just to kind of ease the minds of those parents?
Yeah, certainly that will be our intention to make sure, and it'll depend on the status of where it's at that time. But at least we do have other Safe Routes to School projects we've done in the past. We've been able to share communication resources, whether it's cities or the schools, to help get the word out to parents.
Good, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just three questions. Mr. Eklund, I wanted to first ask you, in light of Councilmember Fleming's question about infrastructure and traffic impacts in particular, Is there ever a consideration for a grade level improvement regarding traffic impacts when you talk about any particular project? Is that figured into any of these projects or the formula thereof? And if so, could you speak to it, please?
Yeah, and so how we typically address just what our growth needs for traffic is through our comprehensive plan process. So that's where we look at our long-range planning projects and things that need to be accommodated for future growth. Like an example of that would be when we built the improvements several years ago on Bridgeport between in the vicinity of 27th Street intersection. We had identified that intersection would eventually need to have some improvements, some additional lanes, turn lanes, and so at the time of when we built the stretch of road that went from 27th to 19th, we also factored in and built in the right turn lane there that's, now you see is there right adjacent to the drugstore that's right there. And so we do, and although it wasn't needed, it's but it wasn't
Welcome, for sure.
required at that time. We do try to look ahead and try to accommodate those where we can.
Okay. But no specific grade level per se with any given project, but the understanding overall we're looking to improve traffic, and in that regard there's, I guess, grade level consideration, because obviously there's a grade prior to the project being initiated, and then post that is there evaluation thereof. So
And we always will do a evaluation both of our traffic conditions, both before and after. We both volumes and speeds. So we do that on each of our projects. And then just the overall kind of in conjunction with the comprehensive plan, we want to make sure whatever we're doing is still maintaining our acceptable level of service standard for our transportation network.
okay, I appreciate that. I also wanted to ask you about really, is there any way to determine what the in-house, let me say this differently, is there a way that you have through any in-house rubric or formula that helps you quantify the impact of savings or enhancements that your team has been responsible for when you look at these projects? And it's impressive, obviously, 16 active projects, 11 are in design mode, but certainly how your team weighs in and leans in any of those areas, there can be a way in which you could quantify, in my view, what that impact is, and just wondering if there's a way that that's being captured at all.
It certainly is. We certainly are a lot more cost effective doing it ourselves.
We certainly believe that.
Yeah. We haven't tracked it. I know years ago we had done some tracking. We haven't done it for years. One of the biggest kind of indicators I do think that's part of our success with grants is because our overall price tag, especially on the design side of things, is so much lower than some of our other jurisdictions that are, that are doing things through consultants or have higher overhead costs or whatever. Typically our design costs in these grant-related projects, which are more intensive because you have to check more boxes and so forth, are usually in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, where a project, if you're going out of a similar scale to a consultant, would probably be in the $500,000 to $700,000 range.
Okay.
So that's a general kind of rule of thumb, but we haven't specifically tracked that for a while.
Okay, well, I certainly want to make sure that it is shared and that you give the listing artist an opportunity to help affirm that, because there's a tremendous value that always happens when we really think about how these projects unfold from start to finish. And one other way to help that be that much more appreciated is those types of comments and those types of particulars being elevated and illuminated. The last thing I would say in that regard, it always is worth the wait once the project is finished. But I want to just highlight with your comments the other things that makes it really important to recognize why it's worth the wait. It's a lot that goes into it. There's a tremendous savings. It's a really good get if you got a wonderful engineering team. And when we've been able to do these projects the way that is now being done, where you got, again, so many active and so many in the design stage, it really is worth celebrating when residents understand all the things that's happening in concert. So just, again, thank you for that. Thank you for the wonderful capital improvements list that you gave, and again, just great work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just a couple of things, Mr. Eklund. When you mentioned the 28,000, year 28, when certain projects won't be able to be funded, why the year 28, 3 years from now?
So,
And what kind of grant money is that we don't have until, or we do have, but we can't use it until 28?
yeah, so a lot of with the federal funds, especially like a lot of the federal highway funds that are administered through PSRC, the funding is programmed so far in advance, and so like the grants that we secured a year ago were for projects that could be funded in either 27 or 28.
Got it.
And so it's just that far out in advance. There are potential opportunities to make those projects go sooner, although a lot of my crew might get prematurely gray or lose their hair if I add too much more to their plates.
No, that's fine. You've answered it.
Yep.
The other one is, if Strickland isn't able to get her funds to help us out with our Chambers Bay roundabout, have you considered what other monies we can use to finish that off and not wait any longer? And like, for example, in fund balances reserved to potentially going after some state money, even county, since the county is going to benefit, Stella is going to benefit. So what's our plan B?
So we do still have, and it'll depend on a little bit of what we have coming in of development activity, but that project is on our traffic impact fee project list. We do currently have about $800,000, I believe, allocated to that project from traffic impact fee funds. However, from an eligibility, we could even, if we had the traffic impact fee funds available, we could even go up to 800,000 more. Now, we don't quite have that balance in the fund. However, we do have some larger developments coming down the pipeline that may help that. There are, like you mentioned, there's always the opportunity for ending fund balances. And then this is something we have spoken with our state legislators. I know right now this cycle was not the most conducive for funding like that, but we keep it on their radar, and then we're always looking for any other source that would be possible.
So we do have some options to get this done instead of just continuing it to.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we're done with this. And as far as the next move, your update doesn't need any council resolution, anything? Okay, so we're good. Thank you for the update. We'll move on to item number 10, community grants process. Excuse me, item number 9. Just making sure you were awake there, Leslie. So item number 9, budget carry forward, and led by Ms. Blaisdell, our finance director.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Leslie Blaisdell, Finance Director, and that was a bit of a tough act to follow, so I think I drew the short straw today. I'm here to talk about the budget carry forward adjustment. As you know, each year at this time of year, we take the request from staff to carry forward funding from projects or items that were budgeted for last year that did not get completed and are being finished this year. Additionally, we use this time to take a look at some of our estimates. We make some adjustments. Late in the year, we'll get price increases on various things, and so staff will submit those. And occasionally, there are some new items that come up. So the most significant change you'll notice is in our restricted and CIP funds. and this change is mostly reflective of carry forwards in revenues and expenditures in Park CIP, Public Works CIP, and Muni CIP, and then any related interfund transfers related to that. As you know, in addition to grants, a lot of those projects, the city portion is funded by real estate excise tax, surface water management fees, and that sort of thing. In Park CIP, we are carrying forward fund balances and previously budgeted project expenditures, totaling $1,276,000, and that is spread all over the parks. There's Hess, Cirque Park, the Chambers Leech Creek Trail, some funding at Sunset Terrace, just wrapping up some of the projects that are already underway. Public Works CIP, as Jack just went over, is our largest carry forward amount. That is $22.8 million. And then there was one new project added for $1.5 million. That's the 67th Phase 2. Somehow, in all of that list of 27 projects, the design portion was in there, and we missed getting the construction portion in there, so we're including that.
Good idea.
And then in Muni CIP, we're carrying forward project expenditures totaling $664,000. That's for the completion of the Public Works shop sewer rebuild, the parking lot entry upgrades, and the expansion to the shop with the restrooms, and then the remaining costs for the TIs, the tenant improvements being done down on the first floor for Suite 102 for the new tenant. Expenditure carry forwards. Now, these are the items that departments have requested. As I said earlier, the things that were budgeted that didn't happen are being pushed into this year.
Oh, excuse me. Councilmember Fleming.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Leslie, thank you. But before we go into the expenditure side, I did have a quick question, and I apologize. On these carry forwards, sometimes people think those are monies that we either made or we just didn't spend. But what I'm hearing you saying, these carry forwards are programs that have already been budgeted, but funds have not been expended.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. That's just for people who are listening, but even for us too, so thank you.
And as you know, our CIP projects, while they're multi-year projects, we budget everything in 1 year because we're never exactly sure what the construction schedule is going to be and what weather impacts. So we budget it all in 1 year, and then when that year concludes, what's left carries to the next year so they can complete the project.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Just real quick, Council, if it's with your permission, we'd like to just relax the rules a little bit. So if Ms. Blaisdell sees your hand, she can just acknowledge you and go to you without me trying to break my neck trying to figure out who's next. So please feel free to be free.
So the carry forward items these that were requested in the general fund, the total was about $427,000 in departmental carry forwards. That's for professional services, a variety of things. We do have the interfund transfers that go to the grants. That's a little over $3 million. And then $6.3 million for the remaining ARPA projects. That money is being carried forward as it wasn't spent. In the street fund, we're carrying, the requests were for $142,000 in general public works. And then the payment maintenance program, whatever money is unspent at the end of the year, we carry it forward so that Jack can then program it for future chip seals, and that money stays within the payment management to be used for payment management. Police and Public Safety Fund, their carry forwards of about $196,000. The largest portion of that is for special overtime. Any money that was unspent from the prior year's special overtime, we carry it forward so that the chief can use it as needed, especially for events and that sort of thing. Yes.
How much is the special overtime carry over?
The special overtime carry forward, let me grab that for you. Find the right fund. It was about 60, where is it? $72,000.
Thank you.
And then additionally, there was, that includes a little bit of money for the officer credits that we received for the prior year. We carry those forward for use. Let's see any other hints. The swim fund is a carry forward of about $2.4 million. That's for the swim CIP projects and machinery and equipment. As you know, probably the largest piece of equipment is the Vector truck that we ordered 2 years ago, and it finally arrived 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So the funding for that was carried forward so we can pay the bill. In IT, there were requests for $857,000. Property management, professional services, $23,000. Risk management, we had some increased costs for risk management, mostly due to adding newer equipment to our property schedule. There's always an increase in your insurance premiums, but that was not the bulk of the increase. And then our donations fund, we carry forward the money that's in there of $23,000.
What was the source of that donation?
The donations, yeah. We have three things. Animal control, people when they pay their pet license, they give donations. And then the Curran Orchard funds from their cider squeeze and that sort of thing.
Sorry, thank you. Just along those lines, just for, but I think Councilmember Worthington answered my question. Okay. So thank you.
All right. Then we move to expenditure adjustments. These are adjustments made to what was previously budgeted based on any cost increases. They mainly consist of internal service costs for increase in risk management and property management. The adjustments also include the monies appropriated earlier this year for the 30th birthday event that was approved. It's being included in this adjustment to officially appropriate it. That was $246,000. We had just minor cost increases in the funds, $24,000 in streets, $11,000 in property management. Or police fund, sorry. Was that a question? No. Okay. And then we had some expenditure new item requests. One is listed in 3 different funds. It's the records archiving, some temporary help to go through and scan and archive our records. It's being split between general fund, street fund, and swim fund. In the police fund, the city attorney department requested additional funding for professional services for legal costs.
Sure. Could you help us, or help me at least, understand what generated the need for the additional resources, the additional time here? Is there a program, a slug of work that came to us, some change in why this is important? So.
The temporary help for records archiving?
Temporary help for records.
Emmy may be able to speak to that.
We're actually short of staff in having those records that needs to be archived, separated. It's just like we're working over 100 pieces of boxes that needs to be segregated for that we need to keep and the ones that we need to destroy. So.
Okay, and then when we are done recording that, we're doing some digital archiving?
Yes.
And do we maintain the digital archives? Does it go to the state archive?
Oh, we do.
We do. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And there was one request for a 0.8 FTE for a communication specialist to replace the contracted content creator. You know, as you're aware, the last 2 years we had $37,500 budgeted for a contracted part-time content creator. And the department has requested that that be replaced with a 0.8 communications specialist. And then not included.
I think there's a question.
Okay.
Thank you, Leslie. I had asked in my briefing, but I just didn't get it clear. Do we have more of a job description for that communication specialist, more comprehensive of what that would include?
I believe Lisa Patorik is on the line to speak to more specifics on that position.
Yes, we can provide a more detailed job description if you would like that.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we,
Ms. Glasdale.
okay.
And then I wanted to ask if you could help us recall how this relates to council goals. So I'm trying to think of the last time we had an FTE ad in this process of kind of the mid-budget cycle. And my recollection is something like it was some park or might have been street maintenance people who we brought in.
I believe so. Yeah. Do you have the goals? Thank you.
And this is for a regular, not a part-time position.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 0.8 FTE. I'm not seeing a specific goal related to the communications. I do know that the request was made because communications is functioning more as a core service, and with all of the events, there's a growing need to support high visibility projects with our events, additionally with engineering and public works, and they felt that that switching it to a 0.8 position over the contracted would be more beneficial, but I can certainly have them provide more details.
Thank you. That would be helpful. My recollection is we did talk something about this at a previous goal-setting session, but we didn't end up going in that direction. So this is sort of a change in a council earlier discussion, and there may well be good reasons for that, but I just wanted to see if I'm recalling that correctly. So
we've identified additional communication needs that are, the demand is simply becoming more than just creating content, social media content, Instagram reels. That was a needed service, but as we're finding out over the past 6 months, it's becoming much greater than our capacity to deliver in the various areas of communications. Besides that, we're talking about creating newsletters and all of the demand with a very, very small staff. So they're just including photography, which we do a lot of outside contract photography. We want to pull some of that in-house. So we're not reliant on contract photographers to go get those, you either get the photo or you don't, and if it's not recorded, then you don't have it to then feed the media that they're preparing. So there's a number of different areas, and we'll certainly fill you in on the list of things that we believe that the communication specialists will provide. So.
Thank you.
So just help me out. I might have missed something while I was away, but this is a supplemental budget, carry forward, excuse me. And so we didn't approve a full-time FTE when we did the budget last year. So this carry forward is for something for a temporary, or the content creator that you were talking about, but that wasn't permanent funding. Or was it permanent funding that we said, but they never requested it?
The previous funding was for a content creator, was for a contracted content creator. It was about $37,500 a year.
A year, so pretty much kind of like a full FTE for all practical purposes.
No,
it would be like ongoing. It would always be like there.
That's just contracted on an as-needed basis. They would work with this
Okay, so we
person.
approved a contracted content creator at $37,000. That's what we approved. So, but we're carrying forward something that is going to be permanent, which is different from a contract person, and also it's going to be more than $37,000. So how does that work in the world of finance as far as us approving it?
The cost for that for 2025 for the 0.8 FTE is estimated to be $85,000. That's salary, benefits, all of the costs, and that would so about a net difference of about $50,000 over the 37.5 that is already budgeted. So that contracted amount would go away and be replaced with the FTE.
No, I understand that, but I'm having a hard time understanding that if we say that yes to this, we're actually saying yes to a whole new position at a much higher price permanently, which is not a carry forward.
This is under the new items that were requested as part of the budget adjustment.
So
it's not a carry forward. It's a new item that was requested.
So you're requesting for us to approve a new item at this price. Okay, excuse me, that's the part I missed. Okay,
yes.
So that makes sense.
Yes.
And you're explaining why, and I heard the question saying, well, how does this relate to council goals? So I may add, council, that you've heard me come back from NATOA last year, and where I commented that it was quite a surprise to see two people doing the job they were doing. It's really amazing because what I heard, and I said I think I was the only elected official. All of them were staff. And I attended, the panels and things like that. And as I talked with them, they had several for the same size of city. So it just amazed me when I said it amazes me that this two personnel could just do as much. It's because they shouldn't be doing that much. And of course, our growing needs as a council and as a city is growing by what we want as far as communication. So I support the idea of adding that, and I think that we're going to see an improvement, and also the turnaround that where we're getting delays. So I do support that. So I'm moving on with somebody else has a question. Okay.
Hey, thank you, Leslie. I always appreciate the information we get from you, but for a moment there, I too had concerns where the council had given staff a guidance and where we wanted to go with one direction, and suddenly I'm hearing, well, staff is going in a different direction using one-time funding for an ongoing staff position. So that just kind of throws up red flags in my head. And then you said, well, this is actually a new budget request versus a carry forward. So with that said, is this the time in which the council's hearing we are requesting additional funding for a new position, or are we going to have further conversation on this down the road somewhere?
This is the time where you're hearing about it. We do have one more at the next council meeting would be the public hearing and then approval. So this is where we would get the feedback as to whether we should leave that position in for the final documents for the budget that comes back on June 2nd, or any questions you may have.
So the content creator position is going away completely. This is for...
The contracted, yes. And it would be replaced with a 0.8 FTE communications specialist to do that work and more.
May we get a job description then for that position before the next council meeting? Yes. So we could look at. Okay, thank you.
Hi, thank you, Leslie. But also the going away of the contracted content creator. There, you had identified in the discourse prior that this position is also going to take away some other contracted for photography and things like that at our events. Is that correct? So this. Okay. So let me. Okay, because I thought I heard that, so I just wanted to circle back and clarify. Yeah, I guess that a job description would probably clarify, but I thought I heard that some of the other contracted photography would be, so that's not going away? All right. Yes, Steve?
I can't get a little echo here. One second. I'll back away here from the mic. A lot of the contract photography that we have, we do a lot of contract photography for our events and for various things, ribbon cuttings, you name it. We will be doing less of that. I don't want to say 100% that we will pull that completely in-house, but this will be part of that position along with a long list of items that is needed to beef the capacity up of our two-person staff. So the job description will describe, and when you see that, I think this council will understand, because for a long time the council has been focused on communications, and our two-person staff, Linda and Amanda, have done a great job of turning things around, but it's just in time now. It's dead. These are deadline, everything's deadline driven, and they don't have a minute to spare to get those work products out. So we do need to let them take vacations, and people occasionally get sick and so forth. When that happens, we're really in a desperate situation of being able to meet those very hard deadlines. So this will relieve some of the stress and provide the capacity and assure that we can continue delivering the kind of work product that Mayor Figueroa witnessed when he went to NATOA, and I think others have gone to NATOA and seen the results and how we stack up against the competition. Not competition among our peers. We don't compete. We just but we put our product out there, and it's of such a high quality, and they're very proud of it, and they don't want to diminish that quality. And in order to, but when you're just barely able to get things out on time because you're working on so many things simultaneously, and there's no one to turn to help with that. It's more than just contract photography. Contract photography is, we have a great contract photographer that we may continue to use, but we'll be able to use that less, and we'll be able to bring some of that in-house. And in the past, we used to do more of our own photography, but we just more and more just don't have the time to go out to those special events and meetings and things and stand around and wait for the perfect photo. But you got to be there in order to take those photos, right? If you're not there, the photo doesn't happen, then the event didn't happen because we can't have nothing to show. So, it's much more than photography. So,
Councilmember Grassi.
yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember McCluskey echoed some of my thoughts, and that's why I also wanted to ask for the job description. I too understood in our briefing that contracted position of photographer was going. I thought that's where we were going, that was going away, but I understand we want to depend on it less and not completely.
And those are my words. The staff may say, "Oh no, Steve, that'll go away," but I don't want to.
Yes, speak for that.
I want to make sure we get the photos we get,
yes,
regardless of whether they're in-house or a contract. That's really a lesser item, but it's an important one. But the more important thing is all the various activities we do in communications.
And my understanding, because no one appreciates communication more than I do, and I think our team does a great job, and obviously that's one of my things I love to promote. But if it's photography, we also contract videography as well for video, which is huge. Copywriting, which is another piece that we contract out. It would be helpful to know if any of those things are being dialed back. It's hard when I see communication specialists. It's hard to be a jack of all trades and be an excellent photographer, excellent writer, excellent content creator. And so I know they have a level bar of creativity. My concern and content, as we've spoken to the NATOA Awards, my concern is that will we find the right person that is excellent at photography and content creation and video and the algorithm. It's so complicated, and I'm sure our team has it on point, but I just want to make sure there is advantages and disadvantages to having experts in those wheelhouses doing what they do best.
And just in case Dave Kelman, our videographer, is listening, no, you're not going to be allowed to retire. We want you to continue.
there's
doing
so
those
many
videos.
right? And it takes some.
We're not. I don't believe this position is videography, but someone who can take a good photo. But like I said, that's why I believe we'll still have a contract for some, but there's a lot that doesn't require that contract photographer that we'll be able to do in-house. But we're not looking for a professional photographer. We're looking for someone who's got a wide array of skills in communications but I'm speaking way outside my area of civil engineering.
But we are, I hope when we say content creator, we are looking for some level of professional photography, because that adds to it too. I mean, correct. I hear what you're saying, but yes. It's a world out there. You got to get that right.
It's an evolving world, and they help keep me up to speed as much as possible. But it's dangerous to be talking about communications when my practice is civil engineering. It used to be.
Well, we'll look forward to the job description too. Thank you.
Okay, so we have one more council member, Boykin, that, Boykin, that would like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So let me tell you what the challenge has become for me. It really has been not just with the questions that's been asked by our fellow council members, but specifically the expectation of really trying to learn more because of the lack of the ability to know at this point. And the job descriptions is a really good way to sort of sit that in a place where it begins to answer some of the questions. But again, for me, I'm taking another step back and looking at process generally speaking. And so let me just share with you the perspective I have, because I'm still going through the first time this time about understanding what it is that we have in front of us when we do the carry forward budget adjustment process. And I've been able to appreciate that wholeheartedly from a very simple standpoint of thinking that these are just items, again, that had been already budgeted and they're being carried forward. So there's really no expectation of here's some new money or there wasn't any mismanagement of money. This is just moving monies forward that had already been budgeted. That's a real simple scenario, and that's essentially the essence of the report topic. For me, it sort of got a little off the rail when I looked at what is clearly depicted as the other requested adjustments. And thank you, Ms. Blaisdell, for making sure that we should be aware that this is when it would be introduced, not just to carry forward items, but specifically new items that need our consideration, which sort of backs into why that ask, if you will, for a job description could be so helpful. So for me, I know we've got 3 new items that we need to be mindful of, and whatever the data that might have helped us weigh in as to the impact of those new expenditures, I just think it's important to have that comprehensively available so that the council can make, or at least I can make, an informed decision, and hopefully a supportive one when it comes to those asks, because those asks don't just come from nowhere. As Mr. Sugg was alluding to, he suggested it may be out of his purview in terms of what he was commenting on, but I'm certainly sure I'm hearing some things that he has in mind. But what would be ideal for what the council can support wholeheartedly is having that kind of data in front of us, and then recognizing that part of the process at this point is our first and probably maybe last real bite of the apple of trying to make sure that we can interject and provide really good support to our staff, as well as making an informed decision to help our residents understand how effective we want to make sure that we're a part of. So just food for thought. I don't know if there's other things that can help give insight on the archiving or additional professional services like a job description is suggesting for the 0.8 FTE, but if that data is available, it would be ideal to have it. I just want to make sure that I'm in a position to just help. So that's my comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you. I wanted to just ask the city manager, Steve, for my benefit, there are, as one council member, there's 2 things I'd like to get some further information on. One is I've had a little bit of conflicting information tonight from what I heard in a briefing last week and getting ready for this meeting. And it was how we defined if that was $85,000 net or gross for the part-time person. In that earlier briefing, I heard it was net, which was to say in addition to the $37,000. And that's just what I heard. So I just wanted to get clarity on that as to which way it is. And if that's, we can do that now, we can do it later, whatever. And then the other thing is, I think of that $37,000 as at least partially funding a copywriter that I think of as Kate. And does that mean those services are going away? And that's part of that job description thing. So
No, the content, that is just for the content creator. That is that's not the work, the copywriter, that the services that Kate McDermott does.
Who I think of as Kate is still going to be.
She is.
This doesn't change her role.
That's correct.
She continues. This is in addition to that, as opposed to
This
replacing
is
that.
electronic.
Okay. I wanted to get some
social
clarity
media
on those two
content,
things.
yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, it's just a couple more comments on this, not to stretch it out, but I think it's important that we understand this new item. And why part-time 0.8 versus 100%?
Lisa, can you speak to the 0.8 versus a full-time?
I speak. Do you get an echo? So we calculated the amount of extra duties that communications needed and also factored in the overtime that both Amanda and Linda are doing, and that gets us to the 0.8.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing is the job description. I heard that may help. I hope, and again, it's just from my view of things, being in government and being part of this council, and that is our role as legislators. I just hope that we don't get into discussing job descriptions on behalf of the administration. I think that's their job. It's not our job to start rewriting the job description. And so either we disagree or agree with the budget, and we tell them why and let them come back to us. But I hope we don't see job description being rewritten by this council. The other one is, so that being said, Mr. Sugg and company, I think it's important that you hear us out about relating council goals and the needs of the city for this position, as you know already. I still say that I would still support it, no matter what that description is. I trust the staff is going to write it to support what our needs are. I have no doubt that that's going to happen. I don't want to delay this over, fussing over its job description. And as such, I don't see the photographer contracts or any other contracts being off the table because this person's coming in. Our city has grown. Our needs on this council for community connection has grown significantly. It's one of our top priorities. Mr. Sugg mentioned it, people need to take time off. They get sick. There's only 2 of them. and so I think it has to be covered appropriately. And you're going to burn somebody out, and we're going to have people leave when they get burned out. We do have an excellent, I'm telling you, I wish you would have been, I could have videotaped that in Otoa where I was talking to folks. We have excellent people. That being said, I think that contracts, I don't, it depends on the need. One person can't be at 4 or 5 events at the same time, and that happens around here. They can't be in a large event. We have 4, 5, 6, 7 large events. They can't be everywhere in that large event. So they're going to have to contract out. I think that once they might be able to do it on their own, there's a few meetings that we have with the socials and ribbon cuttings, but our city has grown, and I think that we need to fill that demand for its services. So those are my comments. Anybody else? Nope, okay. If you can want to finish now.
Okay, I'll try to bring it all. I did have one request that came in over the weekend from the IT department for an additional $150,000 to be used for cybersecurity related services. He said adequate funds are available from the 2024 budget, but he did not include it in his carry forward request. When I asked him for specifics, it is to expand the cyber network monitoring services to integrate additional data points into our active scope and include additional response and recovery. And it's just based on the current climate. I'm sure many of you are aware that the Pierce County Library was just dealing with a hack. Glenn is working on this all the time, and so he did not include it in his original request, but asked to see if he could add that to his request for cybersecurity additional needs. And then one-time monies, the number that you guys always wait for in the general fund. There were unexpected revenues and expenditure savings after we reduced it by the carry forwards that everyone requested. The one-time monies available is $1.5 million. In this current forecast, it is in the ending fund balance. Should council choose to appropriate it for something, it would then reduce the ending fund balance. My recommendation is that we bank it for a little while, especially with our plan to try and our plan to pay off that debt next year, and not knowing what's happening with the economy. I think that it could certainly be appropriated for something as council sees fit.
So you mentioned the 1.2 at the beginning in fund balance. So this in fund balance is from 23, not 24?
This is the 24. We take our 2024 actuals. What did we expect in revenue?
Right.
What did we get?
Right.
So there's an increase. What kind of savings did we have in expenses? What's being carried forward? And it all boils down to this number of the one-time monies.
But going back to what you said earlier, I thought I heard 1.2 along the line.
Earlier tonight, the 1.2 was the carry forward amount for Parks CIP.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it was. So this is for 24 carry
This would
forward,
be-
one-time money that has nothing to do with the ending fund balance for our operations and for 25, right?
It's the extra coming out of last year, and in the past, council has.
Because usually we have a policy of making sure that we have a ending fund balance of X, right? Which should not be a one-time revenue. It's just an ending fund balance of X. You're saying that's our policy, ending fund balance of 1.45?
No, this is the extra one-time monies that we received extra over and above what we budgeted for revenues. Our strategic reserve, we keep that at it's generally accepted as 5 to 15%. We make sure our strategic reserve is at 15% of our operating budget. Our ending fund balance, we don't have a set amount that we want to keep, but
I'm a little slow here tonight.
That's okay.
So help me out. So we have an ending fund balance. We say we want to carry through the year as a policy.
The policy is related to the strategic reserve, the money set aside for an emergency that requires
I knew we had a
council
policy
approval
for
to
the strategic
use.
reserves. I thought we had it also for what we want our ending fund balance to be.
We don't have anything that specifically says what
I thought it was
a
like-
dollar amount for our ending fund balance.
I thought it was like 3 or 4 months of at least operating dollars.
That refers to the strategic
Oh, it is.
reserve. That's the
Oh.
50% there's 3 months of
Okay,
operating.
thank you for helping me out here. So we have the monies for our operating and everything else, and so this is, for all practical purposes, leftover money that we can spend as a one-time. It's not going to appear again. Okay, so that being said, now that I've got all that straightened out of my head, again, I like your idea. I don't think that we should be thinking, how can we spend it? What can we create? to spend it. I think we have two things. One is to make sure that next year when we already have X amount of money, 16, 17 million to pay off bond debt, but we don't know how things are going to happen. The other is, we all said, I believe, at the retreat, that we should be looking at the remainder of the 16 million and how do we get that paid off as soon as possible. And of course, like the first ones here coming up next year, is that when they become due. And we should be, what would be nice, which we didn't get time to talk about it, is how much is it? How much when are they due, and can we save that much to get to that point to pay them off when they're due? And again, waiting to see those kind of answers and have that discussion will be a good time to say, we should save all of that for that, or we should save half, or or something. But that's, to me, a good way to start that conversation. So, did you raise your hand? Mm-hmm. Okay, Ms. McCluskey.
All right, thank you. So this brings a question, the added expenditures for the content creator, is that coming out of ongoing revenue? Okay, 'cause
Ongoing
we're
expense, it was an
still doing
ongoing
that
expense,
policy?
so that
Okay.
would be removed.
Just want to double, circle back and double check. I think, thank you for that cost savings that I'm seeing right now. I always like to see that, and it's over 1 million, so that's even better. I would like to go with your idea, because that was my first thought when I saw this, because we're going to have a low general fund after we pay off that debt, and so that's a critical point in our health and stability financially for our city until that general fund improves, as Mr. Fayez projections are, to grow that balance in the general fund, and also just to keep that in the bank, just in case we have those, construction overrides that are unexpected, so that we can have a little bit of a buffer to pay that and not have to give back the grant money. So that's my thoughts on how to use that. So thank you.
Mr. Worthington.
Thank you. Leslie, so just want to clarify, or not clarify something, just verify. In the 1.536, 1,556,000 and change, that is after the additional expenses that have been proposed.
Correct.
And does that also include the 150,000 proposed for cybersecurity? So that would deduct 150 out of that. Okay, that just came in Saturday.
Right.
Nobody had a chance to
right.
put it in the packet, just to be clear. All right. So talking a little bit further about cybersecurity, certainly it is important. Goodness knows how much we spend now. Goodness knows how much we could lose if we don't do it. All those things. I don't have in my collection of whatevers any idea what's the right number. I don't have any way to, is there a common percentage of whatever? Is there a common, why 150, not 200? What do we spend today? There is so much here I don't know. It's a little hard for me to, sounds good, but I don't have anything to base that on. And I would like to get a little more detail to be comfortable with the addition. Oh, yes.
Do you care to, Ms. Leslie, do you care to provide any feedback on his thoughts?
The only thing I had was what I had already expressed. I'm not sure if Glenn is on the call and can speak a little to his need and more specifics.
If he's not, and if he's not able to right now, maybe either in the information on that, how the 150 came about, if that's even appropriate, is that's just barely getting us to, step one, but there's 10 steps. I mean, that's a good point. Would be nice to have on that. And if it is for the whole enchilada, then fine. But if it's like just the beginning, and we're still going to be looking at maybe $1 million worth in the next 5 to 6 years. We need to know before we start even authorizing 150,000. Because we have to figure, can we even reach the goal? I think that's what is important. I'll be right there with you, Mr. Boykin. The other thing, too, is the 150, now that was not discounted from the 1.5 million, so it's really 5, right? Okay.
Well, yes, it
okay.
would reduce that amount,
Okay.
yes.
And then on top of that, I believe the 250,000 for the 30th celebration has been deducted from that one-time monies, right?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, Mr. Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to underscore that Councilmember Worthington's comment is exactly what I was alluding to when I said that taking a step back and look at the process where there isn't data in front in order to really talk about how well I can make a good decision on behalf of ultimately our residents, but absolutely want to make sure understanding what the ask is from, what the comprehensive support of the ask even being brought forward, so I can be sure that I'm supporting staff. It's not so much a comment about the job description, but just having some data that tells us that here is where it is that has this pathway available from staff so that we can weigh in intelligently and weigh in appropriately so we can be responsive. Then the other scenario, at least comment to that similar idea, is the expectation of the IT impact of $150,000 or so. I could be redundant, but I'm just going to just say there is that example. But is that a fourth new expenditure in the scheme of things?
He's carrying forward, he requested carry forward of monies from 24 that were budgeted to carry forward for use in 25. It was not part of his original request, carry forward request.
Yep. And so that again, for me, just making sure that I can not just understand the process, but make sure that I'm respecting it. For me, the four new expenditure items are those three that's been listed, and then the IT request. If there's accompanying data either in the packet proactively or at least available to us, because we're making decisions not just about the carry forward to affirm the adjustment, but also to make sure that this is where we weigh in, as you alluded to, for new expenditures. Really want to be sure I got good information in front of me so I can affirm that I'm giving my very best as a result. So just food for thought, and I appreciate it. That's my last comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, let's move forward with.
Okay, that is everything. The last page of the memo provided to you is the forecast that takes you out to 2034. As Councilmember McCluskey noted, you can see that we do have a fairly large dip in the general fund ending fund balance after we pay that debt service. It would be, with this budget adjustment as proposed, in 2026 we would end with about 4.4 million, and you can see that then starts building back up. We do have, this budget is balanced, and it maintains our strategic reserve at 15%. I do that calculation, and we make sure we transfer money in there to make sure that we have that at the 15%. And that concludes my report.
So I have a clarification on process. The next round, excluding if we decide to have another study session on this, the next round is to have a public hearing at the same night that we have action, correct?
Yes, we would have a public hearing.
And
we
then
could just have a public hearing and discuss it again and push action to another meeting, should you choose.
What I was suggesting maybe is public meeting. The action does include discussion and report. And I think that if you can report on what we're looking for, and then we can have discussion and clarification, hopefully we can finish the business at the next meeting. Council, anyone here have any other suggestions?
That's good.
Sound good? Okay, silence, that means by default, they're in agreement. Okay, so I think that would work. If it gets really out of hand, I just say we say no and move on. That being said, what is the process by law when we have to approve this? Is there a timeline?
No, there is not.
Okay, so if it doesn't get approved next time, we can schedule another time?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So it's not any pressure if we don't agree.
And Mayor, excuse me, I do have a question.
Yes,
based
Mr.
on your
Boykin.
comment. If that information can come proactively through email, I'm not sure if that's available to us, but if it can come proactively, I just want to be able to be sure that I've got something to look at by the time that we've got the cadence available.
If I heard Mr. Boykin, is that whatever information that we were looking for that is appropriate to send off to email to the council to help us in advance will be great. Thank you. Okay. Okay, next is item number 10, and community grants process. And it is the first study to amend a prior resolution. I do have it, FYI, as a placeholder for study 2 if we don't finish. So I'm not going to pressure us to finish our thoughts and whatever we need to do by 9 o'clock. So we'll have time to do a second study on this. But we'll take a good hit at this for a half an hour. Okay. And Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Kaser.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Matt Kaser, City Attorney. This is a discussion item that Council had flagged most recently, at the last budget cycle late last year in terms of the community grants process. Just to bring Council up to speed, refresh our recollections. Historically, the City Council has appropriated a sum typically around $10,000 for community grant type purposes. In recent years, there's been 2 primary recipients of that, which have totaled about $7,000. Your grants process, which is included in the packet, at least the most current iteration of that grants process, dates back to 2008. For better or for worse. And then as looking at it, and at least in going through the last couple cycles, at least the sense, kind of takeaway, for lack of a better word here, is that the process has largely been on kind of autopilot. And then at what point, and Council expressed the desire. Am I closer? Yeah. Usually I'm the one telling folks, get closer. It's been largely on autopilot, and Council had expressed a desire in the last budget cycle. Let's talk about it, let's focus on it, let's poke at it, and see what tune-ups, adjustments, and such that need to be made. As I noted a moment ago, your current process dates back to 2008. A number of the elements in there are probably ripe for Council-related discussion, chief of which is how much money do you want to appropriate for this purpose? As I noted earlier, the numbers floated around $10,000 or so each budget cycle. Your current process provides for an open and competitive process with a number of criterion. To what extent those criteria need to be reevaluated, readdressed, and the like. The one that I would suggest to Council, based on Council's recent discussions in the last couple of years, is that you'll note that it does provide priority for so-called city partners. Council has identified the need in the past to try and be more inclusive, reach out to additional groups beyond those that traditionally have associated with the city. And any such change, at least from the staff perspective, would recommend that part go out and be more inclusive. You'll also note at the end of the funding cycle that there is a timeline that Council had proposed between the August and October time frame in there, which provides for different layers of both staff and Council input, review, etc. To what extent Council wishes to continue that process, revisit the process, who do you want in the process, are fertile grounds for discussion. The one other thing that is probably also appropriate to add is from time to time we do get asks for out-of-cycle requests. That is to say, somebody says, hey, does the city have any money for this? Whatever, on something that would generally, at least at first touch, might meet those guidelines, and has noted that's incompatible with the timelines that Council set back in 2008. As we go forward on this, assuming that Council does wish to go forward, and I'm kind of getting the vibe that maybe Council does, to what extent Council would like to take those out-of-cycle requests and the like, and bake that into the process. Obviously, there is the legal component, making sure that you're not gifting public funds and ensuring and respecting the competitiveness of the process. But those, again, are grounds for discussion. With that, I kind of did a quick dump on council, and I know you've had a lot of other talks, so with that, I'll be quiet. And I'm open to council questions and commentary and the like, and I have Ms. Blaisdell here to help me with all the numbers stuff, because we've had enough numbers today, and she's better at it than I am. So with that, I'll turn it back to council.
Councilmember McCluskey.
All right, thank you. I'll start this off. Is this the current application that we have in front of us?
That's what I've been supplied as the current application and other materials when we were going through and digging out stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, well, I agree with the partnership thing to be more inclusive.
Yeah.
So, and I also, Tacit and Crystal Justin are very valued organizations, and they've been almost like grandfathered in every year.
Yeah.
So to keep it more fair and inclusive, I think there should be an annual cycle review prior to the council adopting the their budget for or whatever it makes sense in the budgetary cycle, 2 years, 1 year, so that there is a timeline so that so organizations as a whole can get notified. They can apply to apply for the grants and then get awarded. In addition to having a requirement that whoever is awarded the grants come to the city council and give a feedback report so that we know where the money is being used. And I say that because, $10,000 isn't a whole lot of money to provide these organizations that are, probably have, $100,000 or $1 million budgets that they're doing. So with that thought, maybe to look back after we have a little bit of history as to increase the grant funding pool. Also to put it a requirement as to it doesn't have to be a direct benefit to University Place, but certainly an indirect benefit to University Place citizens. So there is a tie-in to that as well. So those are my surface thoughts that's kind of percolating going on. As far as how are we going to do the application process and who's going to do the vetting, I haven't thought about that yet. Thanks.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like what you've got here and proposed, but I do like the idea of creating some sense of feedback, accountability of how funds were expended. And I'm a little bit different in terms of what the indirect benefits to UP citizens are. I really would like to know what is the benefit to UP citizens. We're using their money to grant programs, and I think they deserve to know, if we're going to fund an organization, what is that direct benefit that our citizens can expect to have, and whatever that form may be. I also like the idea of creating some ground rules on how to manage those out-of-cycle requests, because typically we're going to get more of those than we get in-cycle, because of our in-cycle requests typically are those redundant ones that we've been doing for years, and they just come back every year at the same time. But I think we would be seeing more out-of-cycle requests as time goes on, and then how do we manage that with the funds that we have available? But I think it's a good opportunity to expand, take a look at, if we can afford it, to expand this program and maybe add some additional funding in future budgets to maybe encourage some other organizations that may have programs that will benefit our citizens to be able to come before council and request that consideration. So those are my thoughts for what they're worth.
Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, just a couple of things. I agree with Councilmember Fleming regarding the report out and accountability for us hearing how those funds were expended. Question on this particular application: has Tacit and Crystal Jet, have they been filling out this application each year?
Not since the last time we had the formal presentation.
So they haven't so how have we identified that they want the funds each year if they haven't requested them formally? We've just blanketed, assumed they wanted the funds?
Yeah, they provide us a report every year on the residents of University Place that they served and programs that they run and it's just been every year during one of our study sessions for budget, we bring up the community grants and say
But they haven't had to formally ask for them.
They haven't had to formally ask.
Okay. And then as far as promotion of this grant, again, how have we in the past told people that this is an and our city goals, it says consistent with city council goals and priorities, which change every year. Are those yes. Are those council goals listed on our website, and are those readily accessible?
The goals should be listed on the website. So I'm getting a couple of head nods in there without actually pulling up the website. What I can tell you, at least in terms of the advertising, one of the things I was doing with one of the other presentations was I just plugged into our website, quote, community grants, end quote. The only hits I got on our website were prior meeting minutes and the meeting agenda for tonight.
So very hard to find.
Well, no, I found stuff. I just didn't find the stuff in terms of the applications and
correct.
Stuff
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So the average person,
they would find something, but it's not the thing that would be helpful.
They wouldn't find the helpful thing.
Right.
Okay. And then I agree with Councilmember McCluskey and your suggestion as well, and Councilmember of removing the city partner, I think, for what it's worth. Also, out of cycle requests, that management, finding out how we do that makes sense to me. I'd also be interested in looking at a possible, as we talk about an option of expanding the program, possibly a small business match for community grants. There's a lot of small businesses in our community that would be interested in matching a grant, especially if we do feel like this is a benefit to our city and might be an option for them to be involved, also have some skin in the game as well. So I'm excited about this program, excited to people to find out about it. And I think that it can be well promoted and streamlined. So those are my initial thoughts. Thank you.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of quick thoughts. I think we've had some good ideas here already, but just to add mine to the soup. One of them is when we have an ongoing funding partner, it strikes me that we should just put it into a service contract if we have a history of this and just, this is what we do, if council agrees that that continues to be a priority. That becomes different than these community grant process. So if we see value in that in our community and they can help, and I agree that they should be able to reasonably demonstrate that there is a connection between their services and our citizens. And while certainly there needs to be confidentiality about many details, there should be some way to handle that reporting. And then I would make this grant process more of a project basis, either by so a limited, not ongoing funding. So this is to get someone through a project over a hump or something of that nature. And that's one alternative. Then, or perhaps another way to get there is if there's ongoing funding, it ends after year 3, and we either decide to do an ongoing contract or we don't continue. So either one of those could perhaps get us there. We can see what that generates. It's curious to think about how this may match, if that's with local businesses or some other match. I don't think we should get in the way of that. I also realize we need to stay in our lane, however, somehow that gets described. So anyhow, in our governmental lane. So we need that connection and process to protect keep it in that lane. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go next now. Okay. Mr. Boykin.
You bet.
I really think it should be limited to nonprofits. I thought this was the kind of the gist of the whole thing was for nonprofits. not for profit. I'm not really for, funding community grants for businesses. That's an endless. To me, it's just opening a door. It could. Why not us, and why not this business, and why not increase the funds? I think it's a can of worms when you start talking about let's open it up to almost everything. I like to keep it to nonprofit needs, and that's why I thought that the gist of this was. The other one is that it should be limited. Growing this only just, I think there's a lot of already taxpayer, because this is taxpayer money. That's all this is, taxpayer money. We're taxing the citizens so that we can decide as a sideshow to give to some nonprofits. That's all this is. So we already tax citizens for all kinds of needs, of community needs. We pay into the mental health tax fund, our citizens do, for the county and people in our city. They get taxed for many different things for needs in our city. We tax them, and we put it out for housing and homelessness that we're talking about. All kinds of stuff. So I think that we have to keep in mind that our citizens already get taxed to give for needs. And I don't think that we need to continue to say, well, it's tax money, because that's all that is. It's not free money. And we're making this decision that we should grow this fund to give out more money for the needy. I think we need to be cautious about that. And we need to refrain ourselves from being so open to give other people's money. A lot of those folks out there, and this is their money, already do give. They give to their church. They give to Rotary. They give to Kiwanis. They give to all kinds of needs out there. And so I think we just need to be cautious and restrain ourselves. I like the idea of the limited, Mr. Worthington was talking about limited projects around the city that somebody might be having. Like I said, Kiwanis, Rotary, they have projects. They do sometimes around our community that maybe, if we have a policy and then we put and let people know, like, again, they're nonprofits. I'm not talking about anybody for profits, but nonprofits that they're going to do something in our community, and they could just lack another few $100s, a few $1,000s, then, we should have an opportunity for that. We certainly should wait until somebody requests us for the money. We should not automatically give them money that they have not even requested. I found that to be ridiculous. So that's just a few of my comments. Mr. Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would submit that as I think about the expectation of revisiting the community grants policy, there's two ideas I want to make sure that I center. The first is the intent. What are we really intending when we have this community grants policy? And I take that understanding directly from resolution number 592, where in the first effort it underscores providing funding for various community groups that provide a positive impact on community. I don't know if that's nonprofit exclusively, but it does suggest community groups. The interesting thing to me about continuing to understand intent is in the second line where it says desires to ensure that funding provides the broadest impact on the needs of the community. I'm taken aback if there is words like grandfathered, expectations where there hadn't been good, bad, and different, a submission. I don't know how we are in the framework of ensuring that we're providing the broadest impact. That's not an inferred scenario on anyone that has been provided these funds. It's just that when I look at what our responsibility should be from the resolution, I'm trying to make sure that I can stay within the expected framework if, in fact, we're trying to honor that framework. And then the last expectation, I really appreciate the conversation in terms of this timeliness, and that's standardizing the guidelines. We recognize that we're certainly inconsistent with the expectation of what those guidelines are at this point. But the good news is that's exactly why we're having the conversation, and I can appreciate that and want to make sure that as we revisit it, we're very intentional about looking at all the aspects. If we believe that this resolution still provides us guidelines for how we want to move forward with our new, if you will, community grants policy. So that's extremely important for me to center the intent so I can be clear about the framework does seem to take care of what's most important in that essence. And the second thing is that I've got clear ways to get there so that if someone asks me about, for example, what Mr. Kaiser made mention of, the cycle of considerations that's outside of our initial review. How might we handle that? I want to be really clear that we've got some guidelines about that, and it's consistent with all the other things that I alluded to, especially when I think about intent. So that's my comments, Mr. Mayor.
And now we're in our second round of comments on this, and Ms. McCluskey goes next, and then Ms. Grassi.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I concur with Councilmember Boykin. What we have done in the past is only a small kitty of $10,000 that we have. We, with the Crystal Judson and Tacid, it is an indirect benefit to the city. If we're going to be having a more directive benefit, then we'll have to redefine the criteria, get a vision for this particular grant, so whoever is interested will know if they fit into that intention that the City Council has. In addition, I've never been part of a committee or anything that vetted any of the grants or any of the applications that have come forward. So we may need to, as a council, formalize that prior to bringing it up to the City Council for the final consideration with that. So if we're going to have a direct benefit, there are nonprofit. I look at this not as a supporting a small businesses, but looking at the human services side of the equation, because we don't have a human services department, and it's a small amount of money, and there are struggling nonprofits out there within our city's boundaries that could benefit from a couple $1,000s, or however we want to vet out the small kitty that we have at $10,000 right now. $4,000 goes to Tacid, $4,000 go to Crystal Judson.
Oh, okay.
Right?
3,000.
I'm being told 3 and 3.
3,000. Okay, that's right. 3 and 3. Okay, then we have a balance that really never has been expended. It's been because one, no one really knows about it. But also, if we have a cycle that people in our community will become accustomed to, there'll be a behavior modification that I believe in the future will get more and more applications each and every year for that amount of money. And the understanding that an organization isn't ever going to be grandfathered in, it's going to be at the discretion of the council of where their council goals are, and also where the greatest need in our community nonprofits are at the time that we make that consideration.
Ms. Grassi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do concur with Councilmember Boykin and the subsequent comments by Councilmember McCluskey. Circling back before I have my new thoughts, though, just because I think my idea might have been evoked in the mayor's comments of small business. I did not intend to say I want to fund small businesses. I agree that this should be a nonprofit opportunity and or student groups. My idea when I said small business match was to offer it to our local businesses that they may want to come in with their own funds and come alongside the city and match additional grant funds for these purposes. So that was the thought there. I just want clarification to be clear on the dais. I also, when we're talking about promotion of human services in that moment, I do think we need to be clear about what that comes along with the grants process, and if that means just a dollar amount, if that means that we are required then, or we are going to come alongside and promote. Several weeks ago, we promoted a free dental health clinic, for instance. I think that we need to be clear on if that's something that we're going to do. How does that come forward? How do we decide? I think the human services that are provided in our city by churches and organizations are vital to our success, and they should be, but we have to also, along this community grants process, promotion is a huge benefit of dollars to organizations, so we need to put that into a figure as well. And again, when we give them dollars, are we expecting then to come alongside, we will promote, we will do this, we will do that, or we won't? It just seems to be a little gray right now as far as will we or won't we. So those are my continuing thoughts.
If I can just real quick comment, at least on the promotion component, though. One thing, just so council is aware, sort of as a preview of coming attractions, and I'm keeping an eye on the clock. You do have a communications policy that also goes back to 2008. That policy is under at least internal review for future recommendation to council. The thought is hopefully we'll be able to have a conversation with that sometime by year end on that communication policy, because that too is also in need of an update and an overhaul. So your comments, at least in terms of the promotional aspects on that, is something that might find a home in that has yet to be unrevealed.
Great. I just want, if these are, as our mayor said, these are our taxpayers' dollars. If we are giving them as a grant, I would love to say this is where they're growing in a process and in a regular, formula that we follow. So I think that should be a part of the resolution.
And what I'm saying is it might not find a home here, but it might find a home in one of our other policies under review.
Okay.
Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In thinking through what Councilmember McCluskey was saying earlier, I do want to be sensitive to organizations like TACID and Crystal Judson. And I recall when we first did their grants, they came here and did a wonderful presentation on ensuring access to their services that they were going to have for our community. And I've always wondered, how much access we really have had over the years. We automatically renew those grants, assuming that access is still there. I don't know. And if it has been, by numbers, back to someone's earlier comment about maintaining confidentiality and HIPAA and all those other good things. I just think raw numbers would be good enough for us in terms of, are citizens aware of their services? Are they able to access? Because I think that's what the funding that we've done in the past has ensured, and I would hate to take that away, but would love to know, are we really getting anything out of that at the end of the day? So I do want to be sensitive to those type of organizations that provide those as we build new ground rules for giving grants. So I just want to keep that in mind, so thank you.
So I'm going to close out by asking and a way to move forward on this. There's a lot of work here. Looks like this is a very old policy, super old, like 95 or 97 policy. I don't know. This is the first time I've been in council 16 years. First time we've actually really said anything of worth about this. And I think it's time. We've grown quite a bit. It's time to really take a look and see if we want to race the kitty. We want to do something different. I'm thinking that we have an economic development commission. We're always trying to figure out what's important that we can give them direction to provide recommendation. Certainly, that to me, it's like, okay, let's do a resolution with some very direct, parameters of what we're asking them to recommend, and see what they come up with that we can then pick up and make it easier on us. We're legislators. That's why we have commissions and why we have staff. This would be a big load on us to study. We'll be studying 2, 3, 4, 5 study sessions by the time we really, or we can create a council committee of 3 with a staff person to try to really revamp this whole thing, because that's what it sounds what it needs, to really give it some thought. I don't want to really burden our council members on that. I think maybe a commission work resolution would be really nice. Plus, we get feedback from the outside, and and then we can use that valuable information to draw from. So any thoughts? I see a head nodding over here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the idea of giving it to, well, maybe our Economic Development Commission or whatever, if that's appropriate. That is one commission that is always asking for more work. So I think this they would wholeheartedly dive into with that, because certainly with the community grants, there is an economic benefit to this aspect of it, as well as a community human resource benefit to that benefits our city. So
Okay.
that would be my thought.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I would move to extend the remaining 5 minutes.
Second. Any opposing? Nope. Approved. Okay. So any other thoughts besides Ms. McCluskey on this? Mr. Worthington.
Thank you. I would just add, it could be the Economic Development Commission. I know the Public Safety Commission is also eager to looking for new challenges too. Regardless, the commission work seems to be an appropriate opportunity to put those folks to good use and a worthy subject.
Again, I mentioned economic because I thought that anything that we're doing here seems like it would work within economic development versus public safety. But I leave it up to this council to, for direction. Anybody else?
I can be quick. I think that just putting heads together and let the commissions that have an interest in tackling this come up with their best recommendations. We can pool it and look at it as a council and then go forward from there would be my recommendation.
Okay. Well, we have at least 4 that says commission. But I did have a different turn, about 1.5 different turn than a 2 over here, and that is, what commission? So I leave it up to you, Mr. Suggs. You know your commission's best. I don't think it's going to be planning, but I'll leave it up to you to who you think really deserves it, can work it, and get back to us with a recommendation. But we need to pass a resolution with a direction. So if you can come back at the next meeting with a resolution of what the direction is, and we can, comment on that and then, go for it.
I'll be meeting with my commission liaisons tomorrow morning.
Okay. Is that good enough? Okay. Thank you. And the meeting is over. Thank you.
All right.
I thought we were going to stay the extra 5 minutes.
Have an awesome evening. Well, thank you. Yeah, but we weren't sure.
We did.
Second.